Howdy. Today is exactly 1 year since I preached at Sugar Grove. And while in the Philippines, I'd been thinking about preparing really a good sermon. Because I think that if you let me borrow 20 minutes of your time, and I was thinking, if there are like 900, including the children here, that is already like 18,000 minutes. Divided by 60 minutes, that is like 3,000 hours. I better not waste your time. So there am I in the Philippines trying to prepare, read, and even in the plane I was thinking, and the last 4 weeks we'd been in Oklahoma, I'd been thinking and preparing this sermon. I want that everything should be concise, precise, should be airtight, should be sealed to the last word. Especially that I only have 20 minutes. And yet, something happened. The theme that I am preparing without me really, realizing it is probably the greatest theme that I ever preached. Because it's going to talk about the heart of the ministry of Jesus. And when we talk about the heart of the ministry of Jesus, it's everywhere. It's in the people, it's in the situations, it's in the different experience we have. And let me tell you this, I have almost totally changed the points, the stories, except that I maintain the theme. What I'm going to say is I experience the points that I'm going to present to you today. Last Friday, I was driving all the way from Jacksonville, and we arrived here late. It was already like 5:30, but I was rushing with the children, unloading Brother Henry Milligan's Honda CR-V that he and Sister Ellen lent to us. I tell you, it was fully packed. It was fully packed. There were people who give clothes in it. And with all the Tupperware tray that we're going to use for the Moses team and everything, I could not believe how I could fit everything in that Honda CR-V. But we did it fast because I have to see Van, but actually, the most important reason why I came, because I just want to see what's going on last Friday. As you all minister to the folks at the sick and miles and in the pantry. This is what I see. I see all the faces of the brothers and sisters who minister here, from the prayer, from those who are playing the guitar and the piano, and those who are calling the numbers, and those who are packing gifts there and other areas. Just the joy, just their smile. And it reminds me one thing while I was in Enid. I met this lady. Her name is Janice. Janice is now a member of the church, very active, very faithful, and she makes almost 30 quilts every year to be given to children with cancers. But Janice was once in the pantry in North Garland Church in Enid, Oklahoma. She has this special job in the U.S. Air Force, riding on a plane, listening to conversation all over the world and trying to translate or whatever. But one day she had an accident that forced her to file for disability. But before disability start to kick in, Janice was struggling. That's why she came to the pantry. Then I have the chance. Janice invited me and the kids. We were talking, man. She told me one thing. This is what I'm talking about experiencing. She told me that when she was going up, her grandma always told her, you know, Janice, when you cook food, it is to feed your body. But when you start giving that food to other people, you are feeding your soul. Last Friday, what I saw in this congregation is those who serve were really feeding their soul. And nobody can measure that, the kind of impact, the kind of what's going to happen to us when our soul is fed, right? I never saw anybody frowning even at the foyer. All the smiles. I said, wow, I love to be at Sugar Group when everybody does that. It's very powerful. We were in East Texas last Thursday. I met again the person that I really admire for all these years. So he supported us in the years back. His business was very good back then. He even built, from his own money, a gym for his church, for the troubled teens. He helped buy a bus for this church. And yet something happened. He lost his business. He has to work. But when he works, he had problem with his labor, and now I don't know, what he needs is a transplant of his labor, but he doesn't have the insurance. You know? We were talking. It's always good to be around him because he inspires me. You know, I'm talking about that this coming Sunday I'll be preaching with Sugar Grove, and this is one thing he told me. He said, because he can still go on. Nothing has changed, even with that situation being disabled. This is what he told me. He said, I still continue taking troubled things to the gym. And I do this because I want to do the Father's will. That is the first point. In the heart of Jesus' ministry, Jesus came to do the Father's will. That is ground zero. That is the most fundamental. Why he came. It is not to do his own will, but to do the will of the Father. I almost dropped that point in my lesson, the most important one. But he reminded me. That's why that's the very first thing that Jesus did. Coming here, incarnated in the human flesh, becoming a baby in that manger. That's why we celebrate Christmas. It is to do the Father's will. To live in Nazareth as a carpenter. To preach and minister to people. It is to do the Father's will. Another thing I experienced that changes my sermon is I was at North Garland. I have a brother there that is so close to me since 1991. His name is Steve Long. The first house I ever spent the night in his house. That was before Vicky and I got married. And because of Steve, we were called. They are the one really calling for us. They told us, come to North Garland to Enid because we want you to be our missionary. But it's kind of sad that for so many years, I never have the chance to talk with Steve again because he is busy and I am busy. This man has his own business. But last week, we decided to have lunch together. And I was so excited to listen what's going on now with his life. I know he knows what we are doing in the village, but how about him? The North Garland Church, their pantry has grown so big. From 10 families to 20 to 50 now, they are serving more than 200 each week. And while I enjoyed the filet mignon steak, that lunch, I could hardly believe when Steve told me, he said, you know, if I have my way, I will convince all the elders of North Garland that we have to go to start our work on the east side. In the how do you call that? In the old part of the town, where most of those 200 people are living. He said, if I have my way, he said, if God will bless me really, he said he has a major investment. He will probably buy an old building there. He told me one thing that I said, that really, man. He said, maybe those 250 families are not very comfortable coming to the conventional church we have here in Enid at North Garland. Maybe they are comfortable where they are. And he is really serious. And I know Steve will find a way to make it happen. He is that kind of man that he want to really start the ministry on the east side of Enid. And he said, you and Vicky and the kids stay here, you know. If my investment really will be blessed, you all stay here. And I said, Steve, that's a great plan. I'm so happy about that, but I'm not just ready to move to the States while we are still in the middle of snowballs in the Philippines, you know. Steve might come on February because I told him about Impact Church, that he could get ideas and stuff like that. But this is what I'm talking about the second point. The heart of Jesus' ministry is he wants the gospel preached. Whatever it takes. We have touched so many lives already. Sugar Grove is known to be a very generous and loving and helping church. You have touched so many lives. Like last Friday. Like with the Second Mile Mission. The pantry. It's just a matter of taking it a little farther. It's time now to feed their souls. And we'll do whatever it takes. That these people will hear the true hope. Eternal life. It's so good to help them with the temporal needs about food and clothes. And we have to take it a little farther. Just focus. Because those people may just be ready like Janice. I would like to call on Brother Richard Fancher now. Si habla Español. I would like to ask Brother Richard to read Mark chapter 16, verse 15 to 16 in the Spanish language.
Y les dijo, id por todo el mundo y predicad el evangelio a toda criatura. El que creyere y fuere bautizado será salvo, mas el que no creyere será condenado.
Muchas gracias. On the first service, it was Blanca who did it. But Brother Richard is very fluent in Spanish. He translated my sermon one time to Spanish so I can do a little lesson with the pantry here. And in Cebuano, this is spoken by the majority of Filipino. Mark 16, 15 to 16 says, Panglakaw kamo sa tibuok kalibutan, iwalin ninyo ang mayong balita. Ang mutuog magpabutismo malawas apan ang dili pagahukman sa silot. Now, Alex, okay, can you please read that in English?
He said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. The one who believes and is baptized will be saved, but the one who does not believe will be condemned.
Thank you so much. This congregation, there's not even a word for me to describe how you have touched so many lives already. That Mark 16:16, the Great Commission in Spanish, you are doing it already. The Dominican Republic, the Honduras, the Argentina. And in the Philippines, we have just planted the 27 church. We could have not done it without you. That is the heart of Jesus' ministry. He wants the gospel to be preached from here locally and to the uttermost parts of the earth. In fact, it's now on the making. It's now on the pot, boiling. We are going to plant another church on May. Being funded using the fund of Sugar Grove. Will be the 28th church in Surigao City. That is the surfing capital of the Philippines. The last province facing the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful place. Could you imagine? You have grown so much as a church, not just here. And Warren earlier and then Alex, as long as we can encourage the second generation to commit, to have a great commitment to the Great Commission, of spreading the gospel, Sugar Grove will be in a very good shape. You will continue to grow. And even other churches who will hear about this. We need to keep encouraging the second generation, like Warren and Alex, to love that. to love preaching the gospel because that's the heart of Jesus' ministry. Yesterday, my weakness, is that I'm going to tell you is garage sale. So when I bought donuts at Shipley Donuts, but when I passed that sign, garage sale, I brought the donuts home, have a few donuts, and I told Becky, I'm out. I'm going to the garage sale. When I went there, this is a big house, There's even a swimming pool at the back. We start talking with the lady, the owner, the one who sells those things, and later on, she found out that I am a missionary, and I'm helping people, the orphans and the Moses team. That's why I'm going. I start buying shirts, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to give them free. I'll give you a call later, when she called me, I went and get as much shirts as I could. But while I'm doing it, we just continue talking, and she said, I found out that her husband was laid off. Is that the right word? Laid off for more than a year now. And he used to be a vice president. She said they have food stamps for food. And she has a daughter who is going to go to college, and yet they are still looking for some scholarship so her daughter can go to college. I said, wow. Somebody who needs help so much is now helping me. That's amazing. That's Christmas. And she said, and this is what I told her, I would really be praying very, very hard for you and your family. I hope your daughter can get the scholarship, and I hope your husband can find that job that she needs. Jesus wants people help. That's the third point. He wants people to be helped. We saw that in the Gospels, right? He said, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, visit those who are in prison. I'm talking about my sermon changed. It changed on the second service because during the show, a brother came to me, and it's not my privilege to tell about their name yet. He told me that he is really touched with the presentation, and he said, but I will ask you to pray hard for my wife. She is just diagnosed with cancer last Friday. Wow. It breaks my heart. They may not need financial help. I think they're okay, and yet that family really need our prayers so bad, Helping people is just amazing because it's not all about money. Our prayer, our concern, and just talking to them. And I'm really planning personally to have lunch with them, to encourage her. I never been diagnosed with cancer, but if it happened to me, I don't even know what the feeling is like, There are a lot of people hurting. Jesus' heart is for those people. Last Monday in East Texas, Becky's second cousin-in-law, her name is Chelsea. She is a school teacher, a very nice lady, very loving and very caring. When the class is about to be dismissed, one of her pupils, an 8-year-old, came to her and said, Miss Chelsea, could you please take me to your home? It turned out that the boy do not even know where his parents are. He is living with relatives. Could you imagine? This Christmas time, somebody will ask you, take me to your home. If Jesus is here, He will not have a second thought but to love this child, to wrap around this 8-year-old boy with His arms. There are maybe children right now who feel unwanted, who are starving for love. So let's be generous in loving. I love those kids, those who came last Friday. I interact with them some, it's just nice. Wow. They are so precious to God. They may not live in the same kind of house we live. They might be in a different situation, and yet they are very special in the eyes of God. Jesus wants people to be helped. And this congregation has done so much in the Philippines. We have helped those 9 children who are orphan, whose mother was murdered, and they are okay now. They have now a little nicer house that Annette's BFG and others have helped. This congregation even helped our young evangelists that we train in the Moses team to become self-supporting through the Seer Training Center. I tell you this, brothers and sisters, church planting really is one of the best things that will excite me. But second to this is the Seer Training Center that will help young evangelists to become self-supporting, where they can learn skills on how to fix engines, machining, welding, and the ladies eventually by June will start their sewing. That's because of you all, Sugar Group and the Seer team. We cannot, we cannot support everyone. Everybody who graduates from the Bible College, we cannot support them, but we can help them learn how to fish. How to fish. Nothing has ever been done like this in the Philippines in our brotherhood. And on June, there will be more graduates from the Bible colleges who will be probably coming and go through the training so that they can support themselves while they are going to preach. In fact, 2 of the first graduates of the Seer Training Center will start working with the Batu Church that we have, the 27 church that we have planted, Lord willing, by June also. That's Jesus' heart is. Helping people to help themselves. And this thing is going only to be effective and successful is when everybody is involved. Last Friday was very efficient. I was just walking around back from the prayer area to this hall here, leading some people to come. I saw my brother Mark doing that, and brother Mark Sanders and others. I haven't been to all the rooms, but I just see them all working so smoothly together. That work is really a heavy work. It's not an easy work to do, but it became easy because there's a lot of folks here who volunteer and help to make the thing happen. My prayer this morning to God is that God will help us to become more like His Son, Jesus Christ. To have that kind of transformation from our heart, motivated by love. To be more like Christ in our commitment to do the will of the Father. In our commitment to preach the gospel, starting from the meadows and other areas here to the rest of the world, as you are all doing already. And that He will give us a heart to help people. It can the next person who may need our help is just maybe so close to us. And finally, we pray that God will send forth more laborers, that more and more will be involved, that everybody is involved in this ministry. I don't know all the details, but I'm just excited about what's going on in that, I want to know details of that. But I think that's going to a very, very powerful ministry, So that's my message this morning. And if there's anyone who has a need, if you feel you have a need, we will encourage you to please come. as we stand and sing the invitation hymn.
You gotta take the Lord with you, children, everywhere. Oh, you gotta take the Lord with you, children, everywhere you go. You gotta take the Lord with you, children, everywhere you go. In the street, in your home, on your job, all alone. Highways and byways, highways and byways, where you gotta love one another, children everywhere. Oh, you gotta love one another, children everywhere. Oh, yes, and you gotta love one another, children everywhere you go. In the street, in your home, on your job, all alone. Highways and byways, highways and byways, oh, and highways and byways, oh, and highways and byways. You gotta take the Lord with you.